So Murtaza, you started all of this, and I would love to know what inspired you, or what was it that made you want to do this?
I mean, the real answer is like a slight touch of delusion. But I would say like brought us here.
Confidence.
Yeah, confidence. There we go. No, what brought us here is I was head of community at one of the largest startup accelerators in the world, which is a very nice, like glamorous and glitzy title. And the day job was anything but that. Being
Mm.
head of community, my whole job here was trying to figure out all of these folks that we were trying to help them build companies. How do we get them to build relationships and build connections and introduce each other back and forth and share the knowledge? And this was right when COVID hit. And so this was a fully in-person organization that had just shifted digital. And then it was my job figuring out, how do we build all these relationships? How do we build all these connections? And so we were using, 8 different tools stitched in Zapier together. I remember we had like a Slack living with all of our conversations. We had a Notion with all of our content. We had an Airtable, like 2 different Airtable links people could go to, one for like the mentor introductions, one for like investor introductions. And then the events were these random Zoom links that would go out there. And this was me trying to hold everything together with both hands and try and make this like digital platform work. And I remember like I was writing code and writing scripts to try and make everything work together. And I was spending like 20, 30 hours of my week just dealing with the tech. And then on top of that, actually doing my day job of trying to figure out, how do we build relationships across this like enormous swath of over 1,000 portfolio companies. And so seeing all of that, I was like, wow, we could do this much better. And I've mentioned this to Mike before, but like I come from a sales background where one of the companies I'd worked with, Pure Storage, several years back, had I think it was the second most customized Salesforce installation in the entire country. Like they had literally anything you wanted. You would press a button and 17 different things would happen, and it was amazing. It felt like you were driving a Ferrari. And as I was doing that, I was like, "Where's my Ferrari for community building? Like, why don't I get to do that here when I'm connecting people and bringing people together and building out these larger networks and these larger groups?" And so that was kind of the initial seed. Is like, hey, let's go build a Ferrari for people that spend all of their time and energy trying to think about how to bring people together.
Love that. Because COVID was such an accelerant time for building things like that. I remember, what was the app, the chat app that everybody did the audio chat. What was it
Clubhouse.
called?
Clubhouse.
Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that got absolutely huge, didn't it? Because we all had a sudden need for human interaction, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. And like LinkedIn suddenly had a huge surge in users because everybody was moving online to network. That was where my LinkedIn training business exploded, because people wanted to network. They needed to network for their businesses, and they couldn't network in person. So they were all turning to the next best thing. So there were so many innovations that came from that need. But what I notice is that you do a lot of things very differently and incredibly simply with Heartbeat. And that was the thing that attracted me the most, because as we found out at the beginning of this, when we were getting all this set up, I'm not a very techie person. Laura basically catches all of my mistakes and sometimes doesn't and has to fix my mistakes. But what was it like? Was it because of your experience running communities, you just wanted to make something that was super, super friendly to people that weren't techie? Or have you just got, I don't know if you're neurodivergent, but you create things in such a simple way and straightforward that I feel like anybody could master Heartbeat.
No, I appreciate that. And what I'll say is that has been done with a lot of time and energy and effort by design. Like I don't think we are naturally simple people. I think like Mike can attest to this, in that like when we're trying to like get ideas out of each other's heads, like that's a whole long string of, we're gonna go here to here to here to here to here, and then finally we'll get to the end. And I think with Heartbeat, we spent a lot of time figuring out, how do we make this as simple and approachable as possible. And it was for a couple of reasons. The first one was, is if you think about who we serve, these are often people that are kind of exactly like you said, right? Like they are incredible salespeople, incredible marketers. And what they're going out to do is go build a business from scratch. It is a wildly courageous thing to go do that. And so you have 89 different competing priorities at any point in time. There's always this ping and that ping that's pulling your attention. And so for us, it's trying to figure out, like, how do we make this not an extra thing that you have to stress about? How do we make it the thing where you click these 2, 3 buttons, you're good to go, you're happy, you've got everything set up, and you're ready to
Mm.
roll. And so I think it was really, really leaning into who our customers are and how do we serve them as effectively as possible without adding this like extra stress to their day.
Yeah.